on this transformative journey of Saudi Arabia and all these monumental giga projects that are driving this change. I believe that the discussion today will focus on strategic opportunities, but also challenges and innovations of the whole rapidly evolving real estate and hospitality sectors. I believe that we will also explore how all these developments align with ambitious goals of Vision 2030 and how they contribute to kingdom's economic growth and global positioning. And I believe that our different opinions will, help us to see various development types and also explore investment strategies maybe and address the challenges and all the solution related to both concept design, sustainability, technology in these large-scale projects. And talking about the large-scale projects, Terence, you experienced yourself giga projects as part of these teams. So what, in your opinion, are the unique opportunities of Saudi giga projects for investors?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, Diriyah and NEOM, are both very different projects, both very large. NEOM is ultra-modern, whereas Diriyah is very traditional and reflects the spirit and the traditions of Saudi Arabia, but both have their own challenges. In terms of investment, there is an opportunity recently for China State and Al Saif to take over a large district in Diriyah and build that out as one entity, which is a wonderful opportunity both for the country and for the investor to rapidly move through the investment stage into the implementation stage. NEOM is looking for investors. I'll be honest with you, I'm not an investor specialist, and my colleagues here will be able to better advise on it. But I think anyone coming into NEOM will be staggered by the scale, by the complexity, by the sheer ambition of NEOM, and they'd have to have patience, because I think it would take a long time for assets there to sort of come online, because of its complexity and its ambition. I was at dinner last night with some guys from Alula. Again, I know that they have a number of hotels. A few of these resorts have been funded by external entities, and they're looking for more investment. So I think these giga projects do offer big and real opportunities.
Yeah. But interestingly, all these developments create some challenges, and we all discussed a challenge in logistics and supply chain. So Terence, what do you think, what are these challenges, and when we try to bring the both design and technical briefs to reality?
And it's an interesting question. Probably this is the best way to answer it. So when I was working at NEOM, very isolated area, very little transportation going to it, no roads, no railway. They had a small airport, an even smaller port. And the big obstacle there, I think, very early on, and probably still is logistics, is getting material into the area, building consolidation centers around the work site so that components can be pulled together, and ensuring that workforce can move in. And with those aspects, they balloon up into bigger economic benefits for the country. The other aspect, as well as modularization, again in Saudi, to be able to build components and then build them into the main site, NEOM or Diriyah, and without having to sort of import them, or without having them to travel great distances. At JLL, we're very keen on looking at the carbon footprint of our construction methods. In America, they reckon that almost a third of the carbon produced comes from just logistics and transportation itself. So if you can look at ways of reducing that, then you're going to have real benefits, both in terms of economic growth, economic value, but also environmental as Ziad sort of was talking about a moment ago. The other big thing, as I say, is modularization, is bringing innovation in. There's two companies that I know in the UK have recently come to Saudi. One is a company called Keltbray that do a product called Hyperpile, which can be made in Saudi Arabia. It uses less concrete than the traditional foundation, but you can pack it full of green instruments that will cool the building, that will monitor the building, and again, bring more economic benefit. The other company I was speaking to recently is a company called Domban, and they build some of the world's highest prefabrication buildings. And picking up on Yusuf's point, you know, if hotels have to be built 1,800, I think was the number mentioned, over the next few years, then modularization is the answer. And there's two aspects to that. It's safer, it's quicker, it's cleaner, but also it frees up space in the contracting world for the more traditional contractors to go off and build the more traditional buildings.
Absolutely. And what's interesting you mentioned is NEOM is such a challenging project that it's kind of a testing ground for so many new ideas, for so many new technologies, for other ways of thinking outside of the box. So it's really a strategic project that helps, you know, maybe my personal opinion, I don't think it's built to be built, but I think it's built for the opportunity to experience all of it. So that's the beauty of this futuristic, visionary project. All our stakeholders are both investors, both operators, guests, and employees. So it's actually, we're going back to the quality of life. And it also brings me to another point that we wanted to discuss is people, right? Because all these projects, they're not built for the sake of building great projects. They're built to give opportunities for people to strive, to experience these challenges, to get some white hair, you know, from all these giga projects, right? Maybe, Terence, you could answer that, and all the others afterwards if you want to add. So what are the demands placed on the human capital, but also on the education and training systems?
Before I do that, Led, if you don't mind, I'll just pick up on a point Yusuf made, and we're talking about project managers, and I'm a project manager, Jones Lang LaSalle are project managers. We manage long-term, complex programs and projects, and probably the biggest thing a client has to deal with is change, and managing change, because projects change all the time, employees' requirements change all the time, conditions change all the time. Sorry?
And the teams sometimes.
And teams change all the time, personalities change. And for me, that's probably one of the biggest things that a project management company can bring to a complex project, is managing the change process. But coming back to the original question, for me, again, with my experience in Saudi Arabia, the thing that's most exciting is the education programs and bringing forward Saudi engineers, technocrats, technicians. We engage with schools and bring the schools to the giga projects, because giga projects are like mini universities. You know, they're great learning opportunities for children and inspire them about their future, inspire them about their nation and what the nation's trying to achieve. So we bring in, I've got this week 12 interns coming in, Saudi interns, all of different qualifications, different experiences, but they'll learn about the environmental aspects of the project, they'll learn about cost, they'll learn about the engineering and design. Again, that's very, very exciting. So for me, the big opportunity that giga projects bring are for the young children and kids going through tertiary education, because they're great learning facilities.
Yes. I absolutely agree with you, because I can add a personal note. I started at 21 on a mega project at 2 billion hotel developments. And I learned through mentorship with my colleagues, with all the amazing people that were working on this. And it really was the learning curve and the best experience. So after being in so many big projects for 10 years, I can see the difference. And you know, maybe studying for 5 years doesn't bring you as much experience as just experiencing it with your own tears, sweat, and laughs, and amazing opportunities of seeing the success, sometimes learning from failures. So learning on the ground is the best experience that actually a young generation can have. Yeah. Well, I believe it was a great dynamic panel. Thank you so much for your insights. And maybe my outcome of our discussion is the future, and we're going to shape the future of this urban development economic growth by both innovative thinking and strategic collaborations. So, we'll see the result in 2030.
Thank you.
Thank you.